Thank you. I just want to answer a short question for this man before. I'm working with Michel Tousignan in our group, and you forgot to say that we have a new research program that after the home tele-treatment, we gave iPad to the patient to improvement during 4 months, that the patient, the physician and the physiotherapist call by Skype the patient with iPad and do the same treatment, but by this way. So we try to improve the improvement the patient. Just want to say that for you. Okay, now my presentation. It's an evaluation of an obstacle course. An obstacle course is like different tasks that you can ask the patient to be relevant because you want to identify the patient who will fall. The problem with the elderly people, that if you ask the people, are you falling? They will all the time say no, they're not falling. They're just a little bit dizzy, but they not fall. Even if the therapist call, but we know that the elderly people fall. But so we try to find a good tool to evaluate that. So I will have the presentation, traditional presentation. So 1/3 of people over 60 years fall at least once each year. 36% of hospitalization of people over 65 years are caused by falls. The consequences of fall are very, very important in Canada and around the world because hospital and long-term care institution. Because why they don't say I'm falling? It's because all the children will say my father and mother are falling, so go to the institution. So that's a big problem. So the quality of life is diminished. And it costs a lot. The falls over 65 years old cost $2.5 billion per year in Canada. But 1/3 of those falls could be potentially be prevented. The problematic is we have a lot of tools reliable and valid, allowing to identify the identification of fallers. If you just put in PubMed fallers and risk of fall and tools or evaluation, you will have a lot of evaluation. But the clinicians said they are not useful because the environment is not controlled. They're doing in just some space. They evaluate a single task at a time. If you want to know if elderly people just begin to fall, we can just ask, walk and speak. If they stop to walk because they speak, they probably fall. And all the evaluations do not mimic the reality of daily living. The solution? To have a tool representative of daily living, including double tasking. So we did an obstacle course. That's the name is Sherbrooke Functional Evaluation of the Risk of Fall in Elderly, the SFERE. It was developed by a physiotherapist, Marcel Rivera. It's just 10 tasks. Activity of daily living, including double tasking, assessment of the participant endurance, assessment of participant impulsivity. The score varies from 0 to 3, so it's very easy. Is a total score of 30 points, but the time to complete the test is also taken. So that is the activity. It's very easy. Sit to stand transfer from a wheelchair. Move to towel using only the foot. Open the door, cross the door, seal and close the door. Walk, sit down, and stand up. Again, cross the door the other way. Zigzag through the obstacle. Walk during counting. Walk during see some thing on the wall. So it's very organized in one room. So So this objective of this study was to estimate the reliability, the test retest, and the simultaneous iterator, to determine the validity, so the sensitivity and the specificity. So you want to know, is the tool adequate to identify failures? So we did two studies, not at the same time, the reliability and the validity. We have the same inclusion criteria, able to walk with and without walking aids, able to follow simple instruction, very stable medically, and over 60 years old. We just exclude important comorbidity. So we evaluate the social demographic characteristic, the mobility, the dual tasking, the lower limb strain. The iterator and test retestability was doing by 2 sessions, and the validity by 1 session. This is, I hope you will see, I will just explain to you. We want to know if it's really a failure. So to have just failure in our population, we ask the question with to the people. Are you falling? If they say no, we did a TUG. That's an evaluation that we ask all the physicians to do around the world, is you walk, sit down, come back, and sit down. And if it's more than 20 seconds for the elderly, we're sure the people are very at risk of fall. So if he said no, and it was again less than 20 seconds, it was a non-failure. But if it was more than 20 seconds, use 4 drugs and more, and it was a test to measure the strain of the lower extremities. It's named the sit to stand. We classify it was no, it was non-failure. But if it was yes, they say it's a failure. And it was in the study. So we add for the reliability study 41 people, and it was 35 women. And for the validity also we get 95 people, and both have a lot of medication. For the result, we did the interclass correlation coefficient, and we have a really good coefficient. So what we have is, for the iterator, we have almost the same thing. It was on 30, but the second evaluator are all the time gave more score to the patient. So it means that we have significant bias. That means that even if we think it's a reliability tool, we must really have a good protocol and said to the therapist, and to show other therapists how to use this tool. For the test retest, it's very important because the therapists forget all the time about to be very sure that the patient will be relaxed and we understand all the composition before the evaluation. So we have less reliability, and we have a bias. The patient is all the time better the second time. That means he can learn, or perhaps at the second one he was less anxious. For the reliability of each task, we use a kappa. We can see that it's all reliability except for the walking while counting. So it's less reliable. That seems that's the test that you use a lot in the because you have other tests who just for the patient who just use this one probably is not a really good one. For the construct validity, that's what's mean. Are you doing the same thing that the other tests that we don't like? So what we can say that we use our test. We did almost the same thing that the Berg test, and the Berg test is what all the physiotherapists in the world are using. So we use almost the same thing. You evaluate almost the same thing, but it's only one. And we evaluate almost the same thing that the 3MS. That means that our tool, our obstacle course evaluation, evaluate the same thing, or it can find the faller who have cognitive problem like the 3MS. And it's very important because a lot of physicians, of the physical therapists said that the problem with the faller are not really the functional problem or the strain or the pain, but really the cognitive problem, the light cognitive problem that the elderly begins to have and become to fall. So there was the big question, is the sensitivity, is the specificity of our tool? What you find, we have a sensitivity of 0.9, who is very good. That means that we can pick up the faller, and the specificity is 0.6. That means that we can also pick up the people are not falling. And it's important because when we say to a people, you will fall and it will be a big problem, that means that the people will have afraid to fall. And to have afraid to fall, it's almost as worse than to fall, because if you are afraid to fall, you are not going out, you stay home, and we begin to have to take a lot of medication, and we decrease your quality of life. So it's very important to have a tool who pick up the right person. So we have the same thing, almost the same thing for the score on 30 or for the time. I told you that we calculate also the time. And this one is to compare to the other tool that we don't like, but that physician use. And what you can see is the Berg and the TUG are good sensitivity too, but we have the best sensitivity. But we don't have enough, probably, specificity. That's illustrated the ROC curve, sorry, that we use to calculate the sensitivity and specificity. So another thing I want to show you is the concurrent validity. So what you mean is we want to be sure that the TUG and the Berg have sensitivity and specificity, and we almost see here the same thing. So what this discussion is, or the conclusion too, is the SFERE are an excellent interrogator reliability and a good test reliability. That means that the results are influenced by unequal performance of the participant during a short period. So you must be aware about that. And clinicians must be aware too that different factors such as anxiety and learning can influence the result on the obstacle course. So the participant must practice at least one before assessment. So the cutoff of the time variable to have a good sensibility is 39 seconds. That means that if elderly having a score inferior to 89 seconds is a faller, is a real faller, the specificity is good too. So in conclusion, in comparison with traditional instruments, the numerous functional tasks present with the SFERE healthcare professional in developing a plan of treatment and preventive measure in order to reduce the risk of fall. It guides the intervention related to less successful tasks because you can, with the obstacle course, see what is not good or not and treat the patient on this task, with this task, and give recommendation for the safety within the home, because all the tasks illustrate a part of what you can do in your home. So like open the door, close the door, arrive, sit down, come back, open the door on both ways. So you can see what it's not going well in the house and can adjust the house for that. So I just want to acknowledge all the participants, because it was, if you didn't have participants of our research, that would be hard, and the organization manager. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Sorry.
Any questions? I have...
one. Sorry, one.
I was just, thank you for your nice presentation. I was just wondering about your gold standard, because I think what you should state is that it's identifying people with high risk of falling and not the real fallers, because you have no actual data on falling. So what you identify is people of whom you're supposed to have a high risk of falling.
Okay. It's for that I show you an algorithm. Okay, because we don't have the gold standard, we say it's really a faller.
Yes.
So it's for that that we use 3 evaluation to be sure that in this study we have really a faller. So if they had more than 4, but it was a or it was if you had a lot of medication, tug more than 20 seconds, sit to stand more than 50 seconds, you are faller. You must have 3, because if you just use medication, we know that it's not true. If you just use just time of and go, we know, so it's because we have both.
Yeah, I understand, but still you have a high risk of falling and not the actual falling. So it would be nice to have data on actual falling. I don't know how, maybe through...
I understand.
Yeah.
We have, that's what show you it's a strength correlation. We're doing now a longitudinal study.
Yeah.
We're doing that. It's a pilot study. Yeah. I understand. Because we know that it's a faller. Now we want to know if they will fall. And the really way to know is to have a longitudinal study. That's what we are doing now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The issue, and that's you will notice when you submit papers, what you are evaluating is the risk of fall.
Yep.
It's different. When you state this is a faller, it needs to have an incidence of fall. And you have fallers, recurrent fallers, the classification is out there. So
yes, I know that.
You should use risk of fall in this case.
Yes, but what we want to know, we want to have both. This is the first data we use because the study is going on, and we want to have both, because we want to know if it's good to show in the good way, if the same sense, and we want to know also in you can
it's not
identify.
Right, but it was not a criticism on the word itself.
Yeah.
It's the use of this
Terminology.
the terminology. Additionally, you mentioned that you use frail adults, or frail elderly. How do you classify them as frail? Do you have a study on activity, physical activity, or physical performance, or because that's another issue. Because you can have a lot elderly that fall without any problem. Like you have elderly that are involved in very high levels of activity. They will fall more than any other elderly. They just don't have bad consequences of that. So how do you? The question is, and I think that frailty now is a bigger issue, at least in Europe it is. Even more than fall, with the study around falls. How do you classify this elderly as frail?
Okay, I will. You want to speak there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a big issue because for the frail people. I said frail people because we don't use in this the community people living in the community like they define in the community. For that we don't use community people for this. Now, we didn't use like Rockwood definition of frailty or like we said it's a frailty people because all the people was in the institution in the hospital, and there was in treatment, okay, in the day hospital for other states like pain, like everything. They have a lot of comorbidity things like on Charlson. There was on the Charlson. We use Charlson comorbidity too. So that's for that we use frailty. I really understand with your question because it does not the big definition of frailty. We are not sure that all the people was really frail about definition, but you're sure they are not community-based elderly. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes. Any other question? Thank you very much.